Hi. Good morning, people. It's a beautiful morning in Milwaukee on April 22nd. Hopefully, you guys had a great Easter holiday. Uh, no family conflicts or family dynamics that got in the way of your Easter holiday, but hopefully, everybody had a great weekend. With that, we have a special guest that are joining us this morning. Mark King is zooming in with our group to talk a little bit about wealth planning and wealth building. And with that, Mark, I'm flipping it over to you to take it over from here for a little while.
Charlie, how are you, my friend?
I'm great. How are you?
I'm doing wonderful. Long time no see. Thanks for having me on. I'm super excited to be with y'all today. How's Milwaukee?
It's, 45 and rainy.
Oh, perfect. Golf weather. I love it. All right. Well, I'm coming up there May 7th. Is that right?
You correct.
Okay, good. They're all running together. I feel like Johnny Cash a little bit. Been everywhere, man. But super excited to come up and see you guys. I think this is one of those events where we don't really have a great way to explain why you need to come, but after you come, people say it's the best training they've been to. Not because the instructor's any good, because he's not really, but at the end of the day, it's great training on wealth building. There are so many things that we don't know about the tax code, and that's not a shot at us. We've talked to about 8,000 agents so far about the 2018 tax cuts and where they are in the Senate right now, whether they're going to be extended or whether or not they're going to expire, all those good things. But what you may not know is in 2018, the Tax Cut Act was the most sweeping tax reform we've had in U.S. history. And you have to go back to 1986 for anything close to it. And before that, 1969, when we were on the gold standard. So why does this matter to us? This was tax incentives for people to invest in real estate. And if you go back to 2018, one of the things we do in the event is we show all the fear mongering that happens around real estate with your consumers. We have consumer polls. How do you navigate this market right now with what's going on with interest rates and the economy and inventory and house prices and all the fun things? We do a lot of myth busting. But at the end of the day, if you understand what happened in 2018, you understand that as a real estate professional, you were just given a massive gift to invest in real estate, to help your investors in real estate, et cetera. So that's what we talk about. But you will leave that event knowing your freedom numbers, knowing exactly how much money you need to be putting away in order to stave off this statement. And this statement is what's driving all of this. All of us make enough money in our lifetime to be wealthy. 3% of us make it there. All of us make enough money in our lifetime to be wealthy. 3% of us make it there. So from that perspective, please come out. Please bring your spouse. Please bring your adult children if you like. Charlie, what else do you want to go into today? I got lots.
I'm flipping it to you. What are some of the things that you'll be talking about as it relates to why they should be paying attention and how do they become part of the 3%?
Yeah, so a couple things, and I'll give you a book list before we break today, and I've got some cool hacks for you. But number one, understanding the landscape of what's going on. So right now, we have consumer sentiment at an all-time low around real estate. It's like right back in 2008. And the challenge with that is none of the data supports what was happening in 2008. So I'll give you a couple of things to think about. If you go back to the 2018 tax cuts, just go ahead and Google these terms today, and then you'll see a lot about what we're gonna talk about. But anybody know what QBI stands for and why that was so important in 2018? QBI, go ahead and put in the chat if you want to have some fun with me, play along with me. But what is QBI as it relates to the tax cuts? There's about 13 people out of 8,000 so far who've been able to answer this question. The reason that matters, that stands for qualified business income. And what that means is if your profit from your real estate business is less than $5 million a year, which is going to be most of us, right? At the end of the day, 20% of your profit is tax-free. Here's the challenge. The average accountant does 450 tax returns, and 3 of them are real estate agents. And so from that perspective, understanding what QBI is saves you, taxes on 20% of your profit. The next thing is the accountable plan we're going to talk about. And you're like, wait a minute, we're going to talk about taxes briefly. This is a short piece of an overall wealth building clinic, and it's super in depth. But what we're going to do is we're going to arm you with all the questions to ask your financial advisors. We're going to show you how to find a great tax strategist if you don't have one, which is different than an accountant. We're going to teach you about the things you need to know from 2018. specific to some of these terms. What is the accountable plan? The old version of this, Charlie, was write off your home office, right? Home office deduction. The challenge with your home office deduction is when you sell that house, you have to pay it back, called recapture tax. And I am a fan of only taking advantage of tax incentives when I don't have to give them back. So we walk you through how that works. The accountable plan is all the same benefit of writing off your home office without having to pay it back. So that's a big one. You may have heard of the Augusta Rule. It's one of the most simple tax strategies that's so confused and misunderstood. In fact, if you get your financial advice from YouTube or TikTok from a 19-year-old in their mom's basement, then you've probably heard you should be taking advantage of the Augusta Rule, and not everybody should. But the Augusta Rule is simply a rule. We were just at Augusta. We went to the practice round, Charlie, of the Masters. We didn't get to see Rory win it, but at the end of the day, the Augusta Rule is apparently to be a member at Augusta National in Georgia, you have to also be in Congress. So they voted themselves a tax break. And what they were doing was renting out their house for a couple of weeks over the Masters and then having to pay taxes on the income from renting out their house. So the Augusta Rule says you can use your primary residence up to 14 days a year, and you can write that off and not pay taxes on that total amount. Now, the challenge here is, sounds good, right? The challenge here is you have to have documentation behind your documentation. Think of any tax strategy the way you would think of walking a real estate transaction to closing. Your paperwork has to be in order for you to, right, to get that check, if you will. So how does that look in the Augusta Rule? You have to actually go get bids and you have to go get comps. So what we teach and coach is, if you're going to use the Augusta Rule for client appreciation parties, team meetings, whatever the case is, you have to take the square footage of your house that you're going to use, go get 3 bids in writing from your local hotels, event centers, whatever the case is, and document what you're doing. This is in Austin, Texas. This is about a $28,000 deduction for Kristen and I per year. And so in our tax bracket, let's say that saves us $12,000 in taxes just by having events at our personal house. That is different from our second homes or from rental properties or whatever the case is. So that's one example of what we're going to walk you through. But what I'd rather do, let me share my screen with you. I'm going to share a couple of things. What you're looking at here in a second. This goes into our myth busting category. What you're looking at by design is, if you were to invest monthly or one-time lump sum, what would it take to have $1 million by the time you were 75 years old, based on your age? Now, why 75? Because that's when you're required to start taking out minimum distributions from your retirement. And if you were born after 1960, before 1960, it's 73. But if you just find your age on the left, I have a 21-year-old in college, and he's got, more is caught than taught apparently in our household, but he's got about $15,000 in his retirement at 21 years old. So you can just do the math and you can look at this chart here. That's between $3 and $4 million he'll have at 75 if he doesn't mess it up, if he doesn't add another penny to it today. But the reason this is so important, this chart's so important, is there is a giant generational gap in the way we think about money. In a recent poll that I'll show you at our event, each generation was surveyed, and the question was, how much do you believe is a good salary in today's world? And, a good salary to have the lifestyle you want to have in today's world. And the old people generation like me said $100,000. And the next generation down said $120,000. The next generation down said $120,000. You get to under the age of 40 and they said $557,000. There's a massive disconnect. Now, I have a lot of grace for this generation because in my day, Charlie, you're part of that young generation. In my day, I'm still drinking Folgers, which was, I think 20 cents a cup. We didn't have the temptation of $5 Starbucks. We didn't have a magic box that cost us $1,200 and $202 per month. We didn't have Hulu and Lulu and all the fun things, right? So I have a lot of grace. But if you think about what's happened fundamentally throughout our entire economy, is if I wanted to buy a marker when I was in my 20s, I went and I paid money and I got a marker and I owned it. Today, and I should bring this as an example, someone gave me a hat last week at an event. And on the inside, it had a QR code where I could go either buy a warranty for the hat for $5.79. I could buy a subscription to get a hat once a month, right? And so everything today comes with, you don't just buy something and get it, you buy it, you pay a subscription, et cetera. We pay $219 a month for our streaming services on average, for our subscriptions on average. So when you take that into consideration, $219 a month, if I'm 35 years old, my Netflix and Prime and Hulu subscriptions are the difference between me retiring wealthy and not, or at least here retiring with $1 million. So if you want to have 2 million, just double these numbers. But here's the other thing I'm going to point out. Charlie, you're like 30, right? So when you were 30, you're close. When you were 30, what did you spend $11,000 on?
Maybe a car, used car.
Yeah, I think most of us, probably all of us on this call, spent at least $11,000 on a car. If we would have just thought, let's put the first 11 into a boring retirement fund, and then we'll go buy the car, we would have our 75 to heaven bucket full. So it's just, we're going to do a lot of fun math, and you know how good we are at math in this industry. You're going to hear a little bit about my story, my career, all my failures. I'm going to give you a bunch of resources, like right now. Go ahead and take a screenshot of this if you like. This is my list of favorite books. And so what I would ask you to do is kind of rate yourself and realize you are the CEO of You Inc. And, you know, a lot of us don't think about this way. It's a little bit of a cold way to describe it. But if you think about your financial life, you are the CEO of You Inc. I'm the CEO of Mark Inc. And so I have to, no one's coming to save me. There's no cavalry. I've got to educate myself. The best investment I'm going to make is in my own knowledge, but I've got to invest in myself and my education and learn how to be a great CEO of my financial life. To complicate things, then I meet the CEO of Kristen Inc. Her name is Kristen, and we have a merger and acquisition and we get married. And so what are the chances those two CEOs see everything exactly the same? It's zero. So we do a lot of communication work. My wife and I have a ministry where we teach couples how to communicate about money, right? We do retreats and all kinds of fun things. So, but these books, if you are a 1 out of 10 or a 2 out of 10 or a 3 out of 10 as a CEO of You Inc. financially, these books will help raise your level of understanding education. There's great leadership books on here. There's great business books on here, but they will all help your financial acumen. One of the books that I would add here, because a lot of people are asking about investing in real estate right now, The Millionaire Real Estate Investor by Gary Keller, I think is the best book on real estate investing ever written. And, you know, even he would describe it as closer to like a refrigerator repair manual than an epic romance novel. But at the end of the day, if that book has so much education in it, it is unbelievable. But this is my book list. We're going to talk a lot about some of the things through here. My favorite book ever is Psychology of Money by Morgan Housel. And I think I'm about 500 books in on the subject. But at the end of the day, these are the books that I read at least once a year. And a lot of these books, I should say, listen to. Jason Abrams would call me out right now. I listen to these books once a year. And then some of these every quarter, like Psychology of Money every quarter, Stop Acting Rich every single quarter, Simple Path to Wealth every single quarter. These are the studies of how to keep your financial goals in check and how to stay on the path. Another hack that I learned from some of the youngins, I sound like old man get off my lawn, but one of the other hacks I learned is you can take this list, you can go to ChatGPT, you can put this into ChatGPT and say, read me a synopsis of this book. And so you don't have to pay for these books. You don't have to buy a Blinkist subscription. Don't do that. I did that. I forgot I had it. And then that $179 bill showed up on my debit card. Anyway, so that's the book list. We're going to talk a lot about that. I'm going to give you stats for days, and I'm going to challenge your assertion. So let me give you one of these examples. What percentage of your clients do you believe think that real estate prices are too high right now? As of February 2025, what percentage of your clients believe real estate prices are too high? Any guesses? Charlie, what do you think? Put you on the
I'd
spot.
say 95%.
95%. Good guess. It's 80%. 80% believe that real estate prices are too high. Now, what if I told you that just wasn't true, right? It's fascinating. There's an old Mark Twain quote that says, it's not the things you don't know that get you into trouble, but the things you know for sure that just ain't so. And right now, if you look at the history of real estate, and I need to back up, I'm getting excited now. Gary Keller teaches that the real estate agent's job description is to be the local economist of choice. What does that mean? That means we should know more about our market and the economics of our market than anybody else. And that should be our aspiration. So he would tell me, your job is to be macroeconomist of choice. So this is, when I show you some of the data, we're talking about nationwide, United States. We're talking about, all markets. Milwaukee, if I had to guess, I don't know your market. This is another huge lesson, is it doesn't matter what level of knowledge you have around real estate. No one is smarter than you in your local market. You just can't be. And so at the end of the day, as a economist, I'm going to share with you, all of the national data. And my hope is you'll go find the local data. I'm going to give you what my listing presentation would be today. I'm going to give you several strategies on how to get more buyers in today's climate, how to explain what's going on with taxes, understand, why it's so important that we make a decision on the taxes, whether you're for the tax extension or you want the tax cuts to expire. We need a decision, because that's what's causing all the volatility in the market. But what I'm going to show you is real estate has appreciated at 4% since the beginning of time. And if you extrapolate that out to today, then we are exactly where we should be with prices. Now, nobody wants to hear that. We are having two dramatically different, show you another slide here that's going to key our conversation. We're having dramatically different experiences right now. So let me prove that to you here with one slide. I'll share with you part of the inside of the presentation. If you are under the age of 43, you're having a dramatically different experience than if you're over the age of 43. And again, I have grace for this group. More than 80% of Americans aged 18 to 43 said that money is a significant source of stress. We have a mental health crisis going on right now about money. And if you think about it, we have grace. If you are under the age of 43, all you've ever known is the longest economic expansion in U.S. history. All you have known is way below average mortgage rates. All you have known is a suppressed pricing model in real estate. And I'm going to show you why real estate always has to outpace inflation. So another fun fact, how many years, we're about to be 250 years old. How many years in our history have mortgage rates been 5% or below for a 30-year fixed rate? How many years in our 250-year history have mortgage rates been 5% or below? Any guesses?
Less than 4?
It's only 11, and they're all together. And so if you think about it, if you're under 43, then you likely bought your first home or your second home, or still waiting to buy a home, and all you've known is 3 to 5% mortgage rates. So at 6.75, they feel enormously high. It's still below the average, those mortgage rates. The last loan I took out was in 2012, and we're going to talk a lot about debt and some of the side effects of debt and some of the marketing around debt as well. But the last loan I took out, I think, was 7%. I've never had a loan under 7% in my life, because I didn't take advantage of, if you want to look at it that way, 3% mortgage rates. I had gotten out of debt at that point, and we'll never return. So now the next question is, what percent of Americans, your consumers, believe that mortgage rates are too high? Any guesses?
80%.
It's a quiet group. It's 65%. You're doing so good, Charlie. 65%. So isn't it interesting that number's lower? And it's because there's old people like me. I'm 51 years old. I never had a 3% mortgage. My mortgage normalcy is 7 to 8%. If they got to 9%, I'd go, oh my gosh, these mortgage rates are high. But anything under 7, in my experience, says they're not too high, right? So 65% say mortgage rates are too high. Now, what percentage of your consumers say that inventory is too low?
%70.
Close, man. You have a good nose for this. It's 80%. So when you look, this is the market you're selling real estate in. if you don't know how to back up your objection handling and you don't have the right dialogues for it, it's going to be really hard to navigate what's going on right now. Last year, you may have heard this if you went to family reunion. Last year, 80% of all buyers bought because they had to. They were lifestyle purchases, meaning they had, you know, it's all the D's. It's the diamonds and the diapers and the divorce and all those things. So 80% of our consumers didn't buy because they wanted to. They bought because they had to, if you think about it that way. In 2021, when we sold 6.1 million houses as an industry, that year people bought because they wanted to. When we sold 3.9 last year, it's because they had to, if that makes sense. So how do you find buyers and sellers that need to move? How can you handle these objections? I'm going to make a statement. I believe it's harder to sell real estate today than it ever has been. Now, here's the good news. If you know what you're doing, then it's easy to separate yourself. So 93% of all the real estate last year was sold by 10% of the agents. So how do you make sure you're part of that 10% of the agents, right? And those 10%, I remember when I was starting in this business 25 years ago, there was a sense and a code of you spend a portion of your day every day just working on your craft. Every day on the way to the office, I would get a call from some random weirdo that I had met at some event that would say that the agent next door said they'd list my house for less. And I'd immediately launch into my objection handling scripts and dialogues at the time, right? And so today, I don't see us working on our craft as much as we could. And that's not a shot at us. The industry's changed. There was no Zillow back then. There was no online lead generation. There was no social media. There was none of those things. So I know that I sound like old man, but the core fundamentals of real estate and understanding your consumer are the same. How you get to them is different. So we're going to talk a lot about those strategies. We're going to have a lot of fun. Let's see, what else can I share with you? I have an actual mock-up tax return that should elicit like 10 questions for you to ask your accountant, your tax strategist. We talk a lot about insurance. I have a whole strategy around requoting our insurance every year. This is not it, but my wife and I have a binder that's thicker than this with all of our insurance policies in them. And once a year, she gets all of our insurance requoted. This year, we saved $25,000 by getting our insurance requoted. It is the one product that we as consumers don't keep up with. There's a 92% retention rate for insurance agents. So once you get a client as an insurance agent, you kind of have them for life, right? You think about 92% retention rate, that includes people who pass away, who move away, who stop insuring, all the things. So 92% is a monster number. Why does that matter? Because if you understand how insurance works, insurance companies protected their liability, not yours. And so your rates based on their exposure are going to fluctuate all over the place. We teach you the strategy to go save money on insurance. Here's another way to think about this. And I don't want to depress you, but this is why you need to come to the event if you can. This is your life. And the average American is going to make $2.5 million in their lifetime. That's going to be your total top line revenue as the CEO of You Inc. in your career on average. If you had to guess, Charlie, I'm going to keep putting you on the spot because you're such a good guy. You're such a good sport. Man,
Happy to help.
And you're handsome as heck, man. Are you not aging? What's going on with you? Anyway, how much money do you think we spend on automobiles in our lifetime?
Probably 500,000.
What a great guess, man. You are in tune. We spend $500,000 on cars in our lifetime. So if we took a wedge out of our 2.5 million, it's 500,000. Now, here's what's fascinating. That's after tax, and that's after financing the vehicle. That's after operating the vehicle. So it's $500,000 a purchase price. When you add in the taxes and everything else, it becomes almost a third of our income. Our 2.5 million goes out the door to automobiles. And how many cars do we drive in our lifetime? On average, 10. So the average American's making 2.5 million and spending about 900,000 on their car habit. And I'll break that down for you. I'll show you the math behind it. I'll show you the studies behind it. So if I could just get you to be half normal, and if we could just spend half of that, drive a car twice as long, only have 5 of them. By the way, I'm a full hypocrite here. The way I grew up in abject poverty, the way you flex your success is you show off your car and you kind of drive around like this. And so I've had 34 cars. It is a deep-seated psychological issue of growing up poor, and you got to understand yourself. So we spend about a third of our money on that. Another third of our money goes out the door. I'll make that solid. And all insurance. The biggest portion of that being health insurance. So we talk a lot about that. You're going to spend between 38 and 50% of your money on taxes. So you break this down, you go, wait a minute, there's no money left. Well, what's the big savior? And this is the crux of the conversation and why I think you're in the noblest profession. The big savior over time is our housing, is owning a home. It's the number one key metric to building wealth. In fact, the median, half above, half below, the median net worth of the American household right now, the median, half above, half below, is $191,000. So half of us have net worth above that. Net worth is what we own minus what we owe. Half of us are above 191, half of us are below 191,000. Here's the shocking other piece to this story. The median equity in our houses is $200,000. Said differently, as an American household, we are broke as a joke. If not for our houses, we would have no net worth. So that's why if you study wealth building and you study different demographics and socioeconomics, what you'll find out is that home ownership is the number one lever to building wealth for the American household. So you are in the noblest of professions, right? So our housing ends up saving us. The challenge is we refinance our house to fund our lifestyle for the majority of our life. And a cool thing happens when you hit about 50 years old. The decade of the 50s is when we either wake up and we start putting money away for retirement. We have a panic attack. It's called midlife crisis, right? But it's not what we have been told it is. It's we wake up and realize we have worked for 30 years and we have nothing to show for it. And if we don't start paying attention today, then we're going to be in trouble. And so that's kind of, you know, we do the math behind it. We show you how to get ahead, all those fun things, but we're gonna have a lot of fun. We're gonna have a lot of fun. Let me give you one more little model that we'll talk a little bit about. And that is also studying, are we in 2008? Are we in 2008? You're gonna hear a lot of this and it's getting louder, I've noticed. I'm gonna show you one more graph here. Are we in 2008? Well, I'll show you two. Just look at this chart with me for 1 second. This is our consumer debt. This is our delinquency on consumer debt. This is us being behind on, and there's 3 categories in this. It's student loans, it's credit cards, and it's auto. So that is where we are. We have an uptick, but we are still below the average of missing payments. The reason that's so important is if you study this stuff, you can see the future in delinquencies. So let's do an exercise. Charlie, you're doing so good, buddy. Let's keep going. Ready? Let's say, heaven forbid, well, I don't want to put you on the spot. Let's say that one of our clients is having some financial troubles for whatever reason. And they've got the big 4 that almost all of us have. If you have debt, you likely have one, you have more than one of these 4. But let's go student loans, credit cards, auto, and mortgage. These are the big 4 debts. And this is what, at our firm, this is what we study and what we publish and what we pay attention to. So last month, what percentage of Americans did not make their student loan payment?
Third.
That sounds high. It was 53%. Now, part of that is we were told by the government that we would be forgiven, and we're not going to talk politics or government or any of that kind of stuff. We're going to talk about how it impacts us as a consumer. But so part of that, so we have some grace for people who thought their student loans were going to be paid for and they're not making their payments, so they're deferring their payments, whatever the case is. But when you go down, so when I'm studying this and when we're highlighting this and watching the alerts on this, if the next month, well, let me go back. So one of our clients is in financial trouble. And which of these 4 payments do you think we're going to stop making first if we run into a financial snag?
Is it consumer?
Yeah, as a consumer, if we have student loans, credit cards, auto, and mortgage, and we just can't make one of these payments, which one are we not going to make this month? It's going to be student loans. That's the first domino to fall. The next month comes and we're even tighter on money and we can't make the student loan payment and we can't make one of these other 3. What's the next domino that we're not going to pay? What's the next bill we're not going to pay? Credit card, car, or mortgage?
They're not going to pay the credit card.
It's credit card, right? The next month, we're even tighter. Man, we're just really struggling. What are we not going to pay out of auto or mortgage? It's going to be
Auto.
So what we need to know and understand is this student loan number is a crisis right now. But credit cards are not yet a crisis. Credit cards, the delinquencies are going up, but we're still below our historical average. So right now we can't say we're headed for 2008. And I'll show you the data on that in this slide. These are delinquency rates on our mortgages right now. So we got to be careful who we listen to. Even Patrick Bet-David, who I really enjoy watching and listening to and all that stuff, made an erroneous error. His firm put out that 6.1 million houses are in foreclosure, or whatever the case is, and it was just the wrong graph. It got eaten up online. This is our delinquency rates on our mortgages. So look at where we are compared to 2008. Now, the scary thing about this slide is you see how fast it can happen. But the other thing to keep in mind, it took 7 years for the great financial crisis to work its way through our economy. And by September 2008, we knew we were in a really tough time. So we had till 2014 before things really started to get back to normal. But this is people behind on their mortgages. Why is this so important? Because if you have clients who are waiting on the sidelines for the real estate market to crash, I'm going to tell you right now, there is no data supporting a crash in real estate. Now, we always have to caveat, never underestimate the government's ability to wreck all of our plans. But right now, student loans are the thing we're not paying. We're still making our credit card payments, our car loan payments, and our mortgage payments today. Now, if these dominoes start to fall, we will for sure let you know. So anyway, I took you long today. I got to run. I appreciate you so much. Hopefully you'll come out and see me. Charlie, it's great to see you, buddy.
Thanks, Mark. Appreciate it, and look forward to seeing you on the 7th.
Yay, see you, bye.
All righty. So, guys, here's what I know. If you have $1 billion in your bank and you have a 0 spirit, what do you have? 0. 1 billion times 0 is 0. But if you have $1 billion in your spirit and you have $1 in your bank account, what do you have? 1 billion in terms of how do you manage your energy, or how do you effectually. So how or why and what is the pathway to have $1 billion spirit and $1 billion bank account? And the key to it is how do you emotionally manage what it is that life throws at you in order to affectionately make an impact as to what your financial well-being or your financial thermostat is and looks like. And that's the whole goal of what we're trying to bring to you on May 7th. Mark's a dear friend. As you can see, what I asked him to today is like go into the meat and potatoes, give them some tips and tricks and strategies so that they know that they're not being sold another thing, which is very common in our industry when big guest speakers come. But like, what do they need to be paying attention to as it relates to their tax strategies that impacts their financial wealth in order for them to lift their spirits? Make sense? Love it. Mark, thanks for jumping on. All right, with that, we're going to jump right into it. Education and events, as we talked about, Mark King is coming to Milwaukee at downtown at the War Memorial on May 7th. He'll be with us from 9 to 3 in person. Here you can see the April training calendar forthcoming, and we have some things coming up in May. We've had great participation on the Monday and Wednesday 9 a.m. discussions around articulating your value and learning and picking the brains of those that are highly productive within these markets as to what's going on, what are they seeing, where are they seeing some failures or some learning opportunities from a feedback loop perspective. So jump into those conversations as well. This week on Wednesday, we have Ashley, Aletha, and Newbie jumping on to have a discussion with us. And then on next week, Monday, we have Katie and Tony Jean Greco all at 9 a.m. So I look forward to leading those conversations and discussions. Next week, Wednesday, in the New Berlin office from 12 to 1, Prime Lending will be bridging the gap between agents, appraisers, and lenders. With what's going on right now with appreciation, how are we helping bridging the gap and understanding and educating ourselves as to what's going on in the appraisal world? Red Day is coming up on May 8th. And finally, Mega Camp is coming up in San Antonio from August 11th through the 14th. All right, with that, Vranek, what do these guys need to know as it relates to their go-to tech resources?
All right, good morning, everybody. Okay, so I get a lot of questions on where can I find training materials on Command and other Keller Williams technology. And I just wanted to highlight some of these today because not only do we have abundant resources locally, but Keller Williams does a really nice job of providing a lot of great support and tools for all of the tech. So I just wanted to highlight a couple of these. So the first one, and if you've been around in the Keller Williams ecosystem for a while, you've probably heard of the Command 66-Day Challenge. So this is led by Marty Miller. So he is a Keller Williams OP, he's a MAPS coach.
Vranek, you inadvertently muted yourself.
How did I do that? Okay, can you hear me?
You're
All
good.
right. Okay, so as I was saying, so the Command 66-Day Challenge, it's a YouTube playlist. Marty Miller puts together these step-by-step training videos on everything Command related and everything Keller Williams technology. So there's 66 easy to follow videos. They range from 4 minutes to 14 minutes. So they're very short and digestible videos. I don't think there's a video that's more than 15 minutes long. And it's everything from setting up your marketing profile to how to upload documents for compliance review, everything in between. So this is an excellent resource if you're looking to learn more about Command and really take a deep dive into, all of the different ways that you can utilize it. So that QR code is going to take you right to that playlist. So he's got the 66-Day Challenge 9.0. So these are all updated videos. So he just started rolling this out a couple months ago. So he does this kind of on a yearly basis where, as Command is updated and new functionality is rolled out, he'll update these playlists so that the material is up to date and goes over absolutely everything that's available. So the other resource that Keller Williams has is answers.kw.com. And I probably use this at least once or twice a day. Now this is a website, and it's where you can find step-by-step training articles on Command, team functionality, the Command app, the consumer app. So you can easily search for any topic and you'll find a training article. So like I said, I reference this almost every day. This is an awesome resource that you can utilize if you just need to learn how to, utilize opportunities in your sales pipeline, or if you want to learn how to do a direct mail campaign. This is a great resource to check out. You can also chat with KW support through here and submit support tickets. So it's just an entire, basically the Keller Williams encyclopedia. All right. And then just a plug for our local KW Milwaukee YouTube channel. So hopefully everyone knows by now that all of our Zoom trainings are recorded and they were uploaded to this YouTube channel. So if you can't make Monday's contract training at noon with Steph and Joan, all of those trainings are uploaded to our YouTube channel. There are specific playlists for all of these trainings. So if you can't make Thursday's tech and marketing training, offer practice with Kim Gertis, agent and admin masterminds, all of the articulating your value recordings are uploaded to this YouTube channel. And then one other thing regarding our YouTube channel. So maybe in the last week or so, if you have noticed, you maybe don't see the team meeting playlist on there anymore. We have decided to make this exclusive to our Keller Williams Milwaukee associates. So this is now going to live exclusively on the KW Milwaukee Agent Hub on our website. So this is added under the office resources. Right next to the team meeting slides, you will see the team meeting recording. So that is going to be a link to the team meeting playlist on our YouTube channel. So if you're logging into YouTube and trying to find that playlist, just know that this is now unlisted. You just have to have the link to the playlist. So again, it's just exclusive to our Keller Williams associates. So that's where you'll find it on the Agent Hub. All right, switching gears a little bit. So last week we announced that Keller Williams Milwaukee was named the #1 top place. And I'm sure you've seen some social media noise. And if you guys wanted to post something on your own accounts, we now have those social media images available through the Agent Hub under the Tech and Marketing Resources in that grab and go Google Drive folder. So where you can find all of the 12 direct campaigns and other grab and go materials, you will also find the top workplaces social media posts as well. All right. And then just plugging our upcoming training, tech and marketing training. As we do every single month, we've got compliance and command and zip form training this Thursday at 11. It's on Zoom. As I said, if you can't make it, all of those trainings are recorded, uploaded to YouTube. So if you want to watch those back, all of those are uploaded there. But I'm always going to encourage you guys to join us live at 11 to ask your questions and follow along and learn more about zip form and opportunities in command. That's it. Thanks.
Oh, and now we're over to the sheriff. Sorry, I was now muted. Long-time listener, first-time caller. Sheriff Reed, what do these guys need to know as it relates to fair housing?
Well, we're doing fair housing today, although I think the main majority of our agents are very good at recognizing fair housing areas. What I'm doing today is reminding you of the 4 main areas of fair housing. And we can go to the next slide. It is advertising, and then we'll go to what are the protected areas in fair housing. We're going to talk about terms that you can use and terms you can't use. So it's going to be just 4 main areas that I just want to keep you in mind. Under advertising, there are some rules that you need to follow with familial law. And the idea is that the good rule of thumb is to say, what is the message of the ads that you're using? Does it exclude any groups? Does it describe the property and not the target of the buyer? That is the key thing to have in your mind when you are creating ads is I've got to describe the property. I'm describing the property. I'm not going to describe the neighborhood. I'm not going to describe who's the good buyer for this. And if you keep that one phrase in mind, that is going to keep your advertising clear. The following groups, oh, excuse me, I just want to go through those. Avoid strategies that target less than the whole market. Do not direct an ad to only one segment of the community. Do not advertise in a limited geographic area. Do not use particular publications or editions of newspaper, and do not use only small circulation publications that are designed primarily to certain religious or ethnic groups. Those are things that a lot of us have done, and I certainly have done in the past until I was educated about fair housing. Okay. Next one. There are terms that that are saying now that you can't use or you can use. I just wanted to clarify some of those terms. People were saying you can't say Jack and Jill bathroom anymore, things like that. Well, the Department of Housing and Urban Development, HUD, provides guidance that provides that we may not state a discriminatory preference or limitation on account of race, color, religion, sex, handicap, familial status, and national origin. Phrases that are neutral on their face, such as master bedroom or rare find, may be used. There was this big movement where you can't say master bedroom anymore. Yes, you can. In addition, a phrase such as Jack and Jill bathroom is a commonly used architectural term and a physical description of the property, and as such is permitted. So it's little things like that that can rub people the wrong way sometimes, but know your facts, be educated about what terms you can use and cannot use in description of your property. Next one. American Disabilities Act, Steph and I have said this a couple of times. Most of fair housing complaints and fines have been under the American Disabilities Act, not under race or what most people would think. If someone is blind and wants to list their house, the client has an assistant who will help her complete the real estate condition report. But what other conditions should the agent make? And here it has a list of some of the auxiliary aids that include services or devices. It is your responsibility as the agent for the client who has some disabilities that you are responsible for making those considerations. It's not up to the client. Sometimes the client will aid you in saying what considerations they need in order to sell their house or to buy their house. But for example, some of those services are getting an interpreter in, listening headsets, television captioning and decoders, tape text, braille materials. But that's your responsibility to make sure the communication is perfect in working with someone with disabilities. And the last one is protected classes. And you have to make sure that, are you talking about including or excluding a protected class? And if it is, Fair Housing Act makes it unlawful to indicate a preference. And this is where it gets particular, but this is where you need to be educated. To indicate a preference, a limitation, or discrimination, preference, limitation, or discrimination based on race, color, religion, sex, handicap, familial status, or natural origin, or an intention to make any such preference, limitation, or discrimination. The fines are huge. The penalties can be destroying. So make sure that you understand the nuance of what they're talking about there. Wisconsin statutes also add sexual orientation, marital status, lawful source of income, age, and ancestry to the list of protected classes. These are protected. They are not to be included, especially, or excluded, especially in selling real estate. You show properties that meet their criteria, drafting, presenting offers as they may request. If there's evidence that a listing broker, seller, or neighbor is engaging in discrimination, the buyers or the agent have the right to bring discrimination complaints. And I think, is that the last one?
Yep.
Yep. So it's
And I would
a reminder.
Sheriff Reed, I appreciate it and thank you guys. Here's what I'd share with you as it relates to protected classes. The key to it is consistency. If you treat various clients in different ways, you put yourself up for a situation where you can get caught in a gotcha moment. And we've had a few of these over my career at KW where consumer feels wronged and the way they get back to a client is a gotcha moment, and you don't want to get caught in a gotcha moment. And the best way to protect yourself in that is be consistent in your practices and in your approach. Unfortunately, that's the way people know how to attack you, is through attacking your reputation. And it's important that we take time to remind ourselves of protected classes and the way in which we advertise and so on and so forth, because gotcha moments seem to be more and more common. And it's a way that, as we think about how we approach our businesses, to ensure that we are being consistent in our practices and in our approach. Cool. All right. A lot of stuff thrown at you this week. Here's the key. Our goal is so that you can have a spirit of $1 billion and a bank account of $1 billion, because when you have both, your world and your life can be on fire. And if you have all the money with zero spirit, that's a problem. And if you have a million spirit with nothing in your bank account, I know that that creates stress and pressure. And so the goal of what we're trying to do in terms of some of the education that we're bringing you, because the number one thing that I get asked for often is wealth building and wealth participation, as well as tax strategies so you don't overpay Uncle Sam. And then the way you build real wealth is how do you protect your capital? And that's what we're hoping to do with you guys here in the month of May. Sound good? All right, next week we'll have cappers, March awards, and a few other things that we've been hanging on to. And but in the interest of time today, you guys are free to have an amazing day. Thanks, guys, for showing up. Have a great day.